is good. Steve's got his come along coffee. I don't have my come along coffee at the office. I need some come along coffee at the office. I have Dave's special brew right here. But at the clinic, it will be coffee by David. It will be come along coffee. Ask, tell, and demand. That's what we've got. You can probably, I hope we have extra poundage there, because you should be able to take home your own come along coffee and brew a little bit of Queen Valley Mule Ranch wherever you are in the neck of the woods. Welcome to this week's Mule and Donkey Clinic. My name is Dave, and this is Steve Edwards. Every week we get together for about an hour, sometimes more, rarely less, to talk about mules and donkeys, answer any and every question that you've got, and make sure that you have what you need to get out there and gain trust with your animal, get results, and enjoy the outdoorsman life. Have the pleasure of enjoying owning equine, of being able to ride and pack and drive and all sorts and lead all sorts of good stuff. Steve, it's been a week since we talked. How has the last week been for you out on the ranch? Oh my goodness.
Blah, 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 blah.
I just introduced my boys to the Tasmanian Devil. I said, do you guys know who this is? I go, and they go, no, who is that? The Tasmanian Devil. And they just looked at me. They go, what is that? So I had to introduce them to Looney Tunes. How is it out on the ranch?
By golly, just right. Just right. It's on the south side, I've got a temperature gauge down where I can get ground temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the north side, I have one on the side of the wall of the ranch, of the headquarters. Now, on the north side, it's 74 degrees. On the south side, the one on the ground level, is 94 degrees.
Well, let's hang out on the north side. Why don't you say that?
Hey, there you go.
Don't gotta tell me twice. Yeah, it's been beautiful out here. It started to heat up a little bit. What's that?
We want to make sure that everybody puts their swimming suit on for this here clinic, because you're going to feel like you're warm. Yes, it's going to feel good.
It's going to feel nice and good. That feeling when you step out of the jetway, when you get out of the car after a ride and you're freezing from the air conditioning, or you're freezing from the plane in that high altitude, and you step on the jetway and you just feel that warmth all over your body, and you just say, man, that sun feels good. That's what it's going to be like. Come out here first weekend in March. If you are not signed up and you want to come and be a spectator, you're going to be in really good company. We've got a really great group of folks that are coming out from as far as, what did you say, Maryland, Steve?
Maryland, Wyoming.
Yeah.
California. We opened the gate at California. We said a couple people can come across.
That's right. And the gate to Queen Valley Mule Ranch is going to be open for participants and spectators to come enjoy being around other mule and donkey folks, other equine friends, learn, gain some understanding, head back and experience getting results with your animals. It's a lot of fun. It's going to be a great lunch. It's going to be a lot of great instruction. We're going to have all sorts of different mules with different problems, different things that the owners want to work on, and everybody who's there is just going to soak it up. And let me just put it this way. You're not going to look back and say, I wish I didn't attend. You're going to ask yourself, you're going to ask Steve, when is the next one? You're going to want to come back. Let's take a look and let's see who's hanging out with us already. And by the way, if you are watching, we want to know it. Put your name in the comment section, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. That's the three things that we're asking, that you introduce yourself. And then if you've got some questions, put those in there too. We want to make sure that we answer everything you've got on that brain today. We've got Kelsey watching from Wisconsin. We've got Jackie. Hey, Steve and Dave. Jackie here from New Mexico. Beautiful day in Placitas. So Good to have you here joining from Placitas. Tanya is watching. Good afternoon from Old Town, Florida. Beautiful weather in North Florida. We were just talking about that. It's beautiful weather on the north side of the Queen Valley Mule Ranch. Linda is here. Such a happy howdy from Linda, the mule servant, and Theo, the sweet one-eyed mule in rural central Ohio. 50 degrees today, but still a lot of snow that needs to melt. I've got a feeling that snow melton is just around the corner. We've got Dylan watching. Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, Dylan. Polly is watching from Barnesville, Minnesota. Plus 25 degrees right now. This little line never made so much difference. That's the difference between a plus and a minus. We take the plus. Myra is watching. Hi, Steve and Dave. Sunny here in California. Good time to work with the mules. Yes. Now I have another. There we go. Sell it. We'll just do a little glockenspiel there. Celebrating another. Jerry is watching. Indiana warming up. Time to saddle up here at home. I got a feeling you're not the only one, Jerry. Ron and Virginia are watching from Ohio. 50 degrees plus today. It's a heat wave. I have a couple questions. How can I get my mule to my dog? How can I get my mule used to my dog if that's possible? And is it okay to put a mule in an electric rope fence? Let's just go ahead and answer those. Get the mule used to the dog and a mule in an electric rope fence. Steve.
Okay. I'm around dogs all the time with my mules, but the dog needs to have a handle on. I can tell you that if the mule gets all of a sudden spooked by a sudden movement, last year about this time, I was moving cows on a really nice mule down to Andrada, riding along, no problem at all, and all of a sudden, my border collie puppy Jess, he went running right alongside of this mule. Now, this mule had seen 100 dogs, if he's seen one, and seen them out there in the desert and everything else. It scared the mule. The mule jumped in the air, almost knocked me off, went to buck him, kicked at my dog, missed him, fortunately. Okay, now, I say all that to say this. The dog is a predator. The mule is a prey animal. And things down low on the ground like that, these mules and donkeys will attack. Can you completely get them used to it? Nope. Okay. Can you work with it? Yes. It takes a lot of work. It's something I just can't explain to you. Do it like this. But it takes you being ready and having a training device called a come-along hitch on. You're going to be on the ground to start with. Folks, anytime you're going to introduce something new, do something new, do it from the ground with the come-along hitch. All right? Now, remember I just said that mule had seen hundreds of dogs, use them on the ranch all the time, and my pup come up alongside of him, jumped up and kicked. Let me tell you, I was black and blue in some places you don't want to know about for a long time because of that, all right? And it hurt. But anyway, let's go back to this. What I would do is make sure you got a handle on your dog. If not, what I mean by a handle, when you say down, that dog instantly goes down. When you say go to the right, go to the left, it instantly does it. If it doesn't instantly do it, then you put him on a good leash that somebody can handle, and you walk back and forth, all right? When the mule looks at the dog, give him a sharp bump. That says to the mule, if you look at that dog, I'm going to make your nose sore. And you're going to do it 3, 6, 9, 12, all right? So I'm going to do 3 today that I'm happy with. Whatever 3 it may be. Don't set up a great big goal list. Bring your goal down small. When he looks and you go bump, and then the dog goes by again, he looks just a little bit, a slight bump, and he hardly looks at all, we're done, okay? Slightest try, have the dog go to the right, have the dog go to the left, so that we use both brains at the same time. That's where I would start. And then the next time you do it, now remember, you do not have to train every day. Don't do that. You'll get the mule to where he doesn't want to pay attention. So a couple of days later, Do those 3 plus 3 more and go to 12, and take your time. Now, never, never, never think once they're trained, they're never going to make a mistake. No, you're reading the wrong Bible. So you listen to this. This is what's important. This is really important. There's times that your foundation that you built for your mule, dog walking back and forth, whatever it may be, you may have to go back and do it again. 5 years later, 5 months later, that's okay. But it won't be as drastic as it was the first time you did the training. Foundation is what you need.
Awesome. Great question there. What's that?
Yeah, and then the second question. Second question.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thanks, Steve. Is it okay to put a mule in an electric rope fence?
Yeah, it's great. I can tell you, though, that the first time a bear goes by, he'll go right through that fence like a dose of salt. No problem at all. Because the bear rules. How do I know? Been there, done that. All right. Listen, my mules, Tom and Katie, were Shire mules. They used to go up and test the hot wire. They used their whiskers on their nose, and they would test the hot wire. And if the whisker touched that thing and went zit, then they knew it was hot. They wouldn't bother it. But if it didn't go zit, he'd get the neck over there and go to getting grass on the other side. Now, Tom always let his sister try it out.
So when you were talking about going in and see if that reminded me, I'm like, that's how it is when I'm going in for a kiss from my wife. I was like, is she going to let me give her a kiss or is she going to zip me? Not a good time. Not a good time. All right. I'll come back. Great questions, Ron in Virginia. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Lila is watching from Coates, North Carolina, 70 degrees and sunny. Jan is watching. You guys made me run into the other room to make a quick cup of coffee. There you go. You're welcome, Jan. When and where is the clinic again? Please advise. I'm from Cave Creek. Hey, Cave Creek, I got good news. You're only about maybe an hour and a half away, something like that, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. There's folks who are flying 4 hours plus to get down here. You can drive, have your car, and it's in Queen Valley at the ranch, muleranch.com, and I'll put a link to where you can purchase spectator tickets. That's what we've got left is spectator tickets. When you see the price, you'll be pretty encouraged. You'll be like, seriously? That's it? Yeah, that's it. We want you to come out. We want to enjoy spending time with you. We want to enjoy getting to know you. And we want to enjoy being around other equine folks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see here. Linda says, please don't let this upcoming seminar be the last one. I can't come this year, but I really want to. You know what? Linda, we've done it before. We'll do it again. We don't have anything to announce right now, but even if it was just for you, we would come up with something that's a good fit. So thank you, Linda. We'll get you covered. Sandy's watching again this week. Thank you so much for participating with us last Sandy. It was really good to have you. Orongo, Montana, temperatures at 40 degrees. Brad is watching from Nanton, Alberta, 40 degrees and sunny. Alberta, hey, Alberta, Canada. There we go. Gone international. 40 degrees and sunny blue sky. Bob Rhodes, Seguin, Texas, 80 degrees. Roger is watching from Milan, New York at 53 degrees. Jackie's got a question. Can I use the trail rider bit on my martingale? Steve, can you use the trail rider bit on a martingale?
No. The idea of the martingale is that's your tool. It's all together. It's riveted. It's balanced. It's done like it should. Just buy yourself another bridle because here's the thing. Your trail rider bit has to have a different pitch on the bridle itself. So I've developed 2 bridles, a leather one and a beta one. And the leather, you can go large or small, and then you can put it right on there and put your set of reins on it, and away you go. But the martingale, don't change it. It is meant to stay like it is with that bit and the martingale and everything.
Don't say don't change it because we just don't want you to change it. The reason why we say that, and actually the reason why Steve says that, I witnessed it firsthand. It didn't have to do with the martingale, but it had to do with the saddle. What we did was we went out to Mesa and we met up with a few cowboys out there, and they were gracious enough to bring their mules, and we got to film some video with them. And one of the cowboys said, "Hey, Steve, I got this saddle of yours used, and it's causing some issues it's causing sores on the back of my mule, right in between where where kind of the center where there's those three
The
bumps."
skirting comes together.
Yeah. And Steve goes, "Well, it can't be if it's doing that, that's not my saddle. If it's causing those issues, that's not my saddle." He goes, "I think it is." So what happened was he grabbed the saddle, pulled it out of the truck, brought it, set it up on the little plastic tree there, and said, "Here's what I got." Well, sure enough, it was a Steve Edwards saddle, but it was not a Steve Edwards saddle because, folks, what had happened is somebody had gone and taken the two pieces of skirting. So if you're looking at the saddle from the back, taken the two pieces of skirting, punched holes in them, and sewed them together with a leather tie. And so the way it was designed was to allow room for the spine in the back so it wouldn't come down on it, causing all sorts of issues. And it would allow for it to breathe. It would allow for the movement that needed to be there, but they sewed it up. And so one of the benefits of a Steve Edwards saddles all of a sudden became a detriment to the mule. And so that's why we say, and the person who did it probably didn't know any better. They were just, who knows what they were thinking. But that's why it's done the certain way that it's done. And it wasn't a decision made willy-nilly. It was decade after decade after decade after decade of minor changes, minor adjustments. And Steve, who did you listen to when you were designing your tack? Who was it that you were listening to?
The thing with long ears called a mule.
That's right. Listening to the mule and learning from the mule. And that's what makes so much of what we talk about here, so much of what Steve advocates for, different from everything that you're going to find out there. And it's such a mental shift for so many people because they look at the mule through their eyes. We need to look at the mule through the mule's eyes and understand them from their perspective and how they relate to one another and what their needs are. Even if it looks weird or bizarre to us or it's different to us, it's at home to them. And that is the ultimate sign of compassion, is caring for the animal the way they were intended to be cared for by their own kind. Let's keep moving on here. We've got a lot of folks chiming in. Man, I'll tell you what, I am so excited, Steve, that so many people have chosen to spend some of their day with us. That's just really, really humbling. I'm going back here. Brazil is watching from Enoch, Utah, 40 degrees and sunny today. Laura from Nashville area. I've got too many donkeys, a large standard, and a zonkey. I enjoyed meeting Steve at the Tennessee Horse Expo once. Laura, come out to Arizona. You'll enjoy meeting Steve a second time. It's good to have you here, Laura. Stephanie is watching from Missouri. Steve, happy to see your granddaughter, Natalie, returning to the Missouri Mule Makeover 2021. Folks, keep watching. As it gets closer, we'll talk more about it. Fiona is watching from Australia, International, 22 degrees and sunny. I am buying the Extreme Ultralight saddle. It's the best decision I have made for my mule and that's what we love to hear. Thank you so much, Fiona, for trusting us. Thank you so much for lending your time and attention to us. It means the world. Randy is watching. Laura and I are using Murph and Ray to come to move some calves around the corral. Very fun. Very fun.
Really? You know whose donkeys those are?
Those are Gary Green's donkeys that you just migrated, yeah?
Yeah. So they're riding those two donkeys, moving cows around.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
how about it?
Yeah, hey, we're going to shoot some video there, buddy.
It's going to be very good. Awesome. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate you chiming in and saying hello. Tammy is watching from Minnesota. Let's see. Linda says, wow, Steve, Shire mules. Still waiting to see my first Shire. Steve, what is a Shire mule?
Shire is a beautiful horse. They are originated from England. They're huge. They're made for draft work, for pulling plows, wagons, and this sort of thing, doing farm work. They have white legs and stockings, and usually they're really feathery. On my mules, they were not feathery. They look a lot like the Clydesdale. It's just, but this particular mule, horse is more, it's stocky, but yet it's more refined. And it's a Shire. And it happened to be these two mules came from Darrell Winfield. Who's Darrell Winfield? The Marlboro Man.
Oh,
Yes. On their left shoulders, they had the DWW, Darrell Winfield.
yeah.
Okay. And those mules were used to pulling a sled and a wagon. Now, hear that? A sled and a wagon to put feed on to go out in the fields to feed elk and deer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the deer and elk would come down on Darrell Winfield's ranch in Wyoming, and the Game and Fish paid him to take care of those elk and deer and feed them. So this team of mules was used for that. When I got this team of mules, it was Darrell Winfield's ex-wife, and she had a cowboy helper her down south. And a friend of mine told me about these mules because he knew that my mules were black with white stockings. So all of my mules were black, white stockings. Now, guess what? My granddaughter has a mule with black with white stockings too.
Hey,
yeah.
There you go.
So anyway, I used those mules for years. They were gorgeous. One of these times, I got to remember it. Next program.
Yeah.
Next week, I will bring a picture of my 2 Shire mules. And when I used to do in parades and stuff, I had a 6-up of black stocking-legged mules. I had my 1901 John Deere chuck wagon. I had an overland wagon, and then I had a water tanker behind that. And we pulled all 3 of those in the parade with 6 mules.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
Folks, Queen Valley Mule Ranch. I'm putting another link. If you want to hear more stories, you're going to hear lots of stories like this if you come to the clinic first weekend in March. So I'm going to keep talking about it because the last thing I want is to hear someone say, clinic? What clinic? Nobody told me about a clinic, and it's going to happen. Just wait. Somebody's going to hop on here the Wednesday after we do the clinic and say, where do I go to learn about future clinics? I didn't know. So I'm going to say it as much as I can. Come on out. Enjoy Arizona. Enjoy the mountains. Enjoy the desert. And enjoy hanging out with Steve Edwards and other mule and donkey folks. So thanks for explaining there about that. That's real great. I did not know that. And y'all come out, get some more stories like that. Trace is watching from Queensland, Australia, sneaking a peek while cleaning stables. Overcast here today, storms about. Well, hopefully you'll be able to watch long enough to hear some good stuff. Let's see. Ashley is watching. It's an unbelievable 70 plus degrees out here in Texas after the Arctic mess last week. Isn't that the truth? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying warm. It sounds like it's getting warm, and I hope that water gets restored back to y'all pretty soon. That'll be pretty good there when that happens. Linda says, seminar just for me. That would waste your time. You know what, Linda? When you come out, and we get to have a seminar. If you bring Theo out, I know folks would love to meet Theo, but even if it's just you, there's going to be so much good to go around. Everybody will be thrilled. So we'll be excited for that day when it comes. Beth is watching. Beth, hey, how's it going? Good to have you here. I think this is 3 weeks in a row, Beth. Wednesday evening, running to the barn to listen to my hour of mule talk. Kids know it's a free-for-all at dinner on Wednesdays, and texts will go unanswered. Very good, Beth. We appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, I mispronounced. I think I said Montana. Sandy is from Missouri. Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate that. David is watching from Port Angeles, Washington, 43 degrees and cloudy. Glad my schedule allowed me to tune in. Not as glad as we are. We're so glad that you're here, David. Let's see here. Linda says, thanks so much for explaining about switching the bits on the Martingale. I've just ordered a new bit and popped it in the Martingale head stall. So there you go. Now you know, switch it back out there. Trace is watching. Yeah. What saddle can I get for a Shetland Mule with a 4-year-old riding?
I personally would have my 4-year-old riding on a bareback pad for a while. Here's what I wouldn't want you to do. I wouldn't want you to have, and listen to me, folks, this is important. I wouldn't want you to have that kid sitting in the saddle and their feet in the stirrups. because if they lost their balance and got drugged, hung with their foot hung up in the stirrup, it would not be pretty. All right. And helmet, 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 helmet. Okay. So bareback pad is what I would do. That's what I did with my kids. They got a chance to get the seat, get things squared away, or buy a small saddle, small seated saddle, and take the stirrups off. Okay. And don't put them in stirrups if you want to put them in the saddle. Okay. But I strongly suggest anytime, especially for kids, bareback, for a while until they get their seat, get balanced, and then go from there.
Very good. As they get older, if you have a Steve Edwards saddle that's fitted for you, and you get to the point where it's appropriate for them to be in the saddle, we've got bucking rolls, which are simple to install, and it'll immediately take any size seat and make it smaller, so more appropriate for the younger rider. But yeah, just as they're young, do what Steve says. Yeah, just let them ride on a saddle pad, and you're good to go there. Let's see here. John is watching. Howdy, guys. Working from the home office today in Montrose, Colorado. Love the show as always. We love hearing that, John. Thank you. Lane is watching. Lane and Linda from sunny Central Oregon. Is there a way to train the mules not to run off when camping if they get loose without a bell mare?
You got to have a bell mare.
What's a bell mare?
Bell mare basically is this. You've got the head of the herd, that's usually a mare, and you take and put a cowbell around their neck with a strap, and then during the night, that's the prettiest sound in the world. Ding, 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 tells you that you can still ride out the next morning, okay? Now, this is what we used to do at Yosemite. This is what I've done in Montana packing, all over. When I went packing, I always had a herd leader within the herd. It's going to be it'll be a mule or it'll be a horse, but the 99% of the time, you got a horse, you got it made. We'd take the horse and we would hobble the back foot on a long stretch of rope, about 40 foot. Usually we use the rope off the pack saddle, which made up a box hitch. And we'd put a hobble on the back foot, and then we would let the mare walk around. She knew, or the gelding, and they knew to stay on the length of that rope. I still always put a bell on them, and then the mules, what they would do, they would literally come up, look at the mare, make sure she's good, look at the gelding, make sure he's good, whichever one you may be. Yosemite, it was nothing but geldings, okay? And so that's what we would do. And we'd turn the rest of them loose, and that would be fine. Now, once in a while, you're going to have a renegade that says, don't want to be with the rest of the group, going to do my own thing. And I have had a lot of those mules. And those kind, you just make sure you hobble them up with a back leg. Never hobble two front legs to let them graze. Folks, that is not what the front two hobbles are for. The front two hobbles is to have them stand still and quiet, period. You can hobble a left front leg, a right rear leg, and then they can scoot. They're still hobbled. They can go around and they can graze, but they cannot take off running. I have literally, David, I have seen these mules, horses, run with their front feet hobbled and run clear back to the truck 15, 16 miles. Once they got on that trail, they're gone, So what I would do, yes. And if the mules don't know one another, then yes, you want to hobble everything in the beginning until they really get to know each other and know which one is the herd leader.
There you go. You just briefly mentioned it, but I went ahead and I put a link to Wait Right Here, Basics of Hobbling, Highlining, and Picketing. So, folks, you can check that out if that's something that you're interested in. Really good videos there. We've gotten really great reviews on it. So, thank you. Thank you, Lane and Linda, for asking the question, and thank you, Steve, for answering it. Let's see here. Thank you. Thank you for helping us try to get our mule used to our dog. Been using the come-along rope, and it works great. Thank you for that, too, Ron in Virginia. It's our pleasure. Thank you, Ron in Virginia. Cinda's watching from upstate New York. Kathy is watching from Elephant Butte, New Mexico. Linda says, I swear a Shire could pull a steam engine. We would like to see that. Michelle is watching from Landor, Quebec, watching from school. All right, don't get in trouble. Don't let the teacher catch you. Let's see. Linda says, pictures of Shire mules, please. Let's see here. Okay, Anu is watching. Greetings from Finland. Lots of snow. Oh, we've gone international. There we go. Greetings from Finland. Waiting for a spring with my mule, Alula. I put shoes on her. It went well unless winter came and I had to put winter shoes. She was in panic of that noise or that feeling. She did not trust me at all, and finally we took off those winter shoes, and now I have my mule back. I've had her 1 year and maybe have had such shoes. What went wrong? Maybe we have free time all winters. What went wrong, Steve?
Okay, during the winter time, folks, if you're going to put shoes on, you put shoes on with pads. And then that way you're only talking about just a little bit of the foot sticking down. My preference, because here's what happens. You get all that mud and snow and everything keeps getting packed up in there. Always trim your mules and your donkeys real short. Shorter the better, so that stuff don't pack up in there. Well, I'm not sure which shoes she was using to make the noise, but some of them that we use is a regular shoe where you put borium on the toe and on the heels, and that does make some clacking noises and this sort of thing in ice. But here's one of the things is if something goes wrong like that and it kind of spooks the mule, be prepared for your mule or your donkey not to trust you for a while. Okay? Now, it's not the time to say, oh, it's okay, Fluffy. It will be, oh, don't do that. When they say flight and fright's kicking in, you say, bump, bump, bump. You will listen to me, herd leader. What would herd leader do? The herd leader would spin and kick them, for heaven's sakes. All right? No big deal. So, sure, it's okay to pet them. Makes you feel good. And most of them like it too. But for the most part, if they're thinking they want to get away from you, then out comes the come along hitch and you make them uncomfortable.
Very good. Kimberly's watching, says, hi, Steve. Will your saddles be available to view at the clinic? Isn't the clinic full? Kimberly from Gilbert. Clinic is only full for participants. We still have spectator tickets available, and we'd love to have you, Kimberly. Steve, are you going to have your saddles there?
Yes, we're actually going to have saddles there for sale, and the store will be open to participants and spectators only. It is not open to the public. I'm not going to take my time away from my clients to sell you a saddle or whatever. Okay, store is not open to the public simply because I'm a working ranch. We don't have time. So if you're there as a participant or a spectator, you will see my trees. You will see full demonstration of trees setting on the mules. You will see me demonstrate how to adjust a breeching. You'll see me how to adjust tack. You're going to see in 2 days what it took me 40 years to figure out. Okay, so yes, it's going to be open to the store, and my wife's got a great lunch. I'm going to tell you, David, it's going to be worth it just to come for the lunch. That's right. And the coffee by David, the come along coffee. Yeah, that's
clinky,
right.
Clinky, 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 clinky. There we go. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's really great, about 3 or 4 months ago, we were doing a broadcast just like this, and somebody was asking, Steve, how do I know that your saddle will fit on my mule? And I said, well, Steve doesn't need to answer this. We'll just let saddle owners, Steve Edwards saddle owners, tell us. And I said, if you own, and matter of fact, we can do it right here, right now. We've got over 55 people watching. People are coming and going a little bit here or there. We may have 60, 65. Let's just do this right now. If you have a Steve Edwards saddle, put what saddle you have and the size of your animal in the comments section. We don't tell you that it's going to fit your mule. We let owners tell you that it fit their mule. And you'll see, goes all the way from 13 and something, all the way up to 17 and something, and they all say best decision that I made, or fits perfectly, or exactly what I needed. So we'll go ahead. We'll just let that happen. Y'all look at that in the comments section. These saddles, it's going to be great for you to come out here and actually see that be the case. But folks will tell you right now that it actually is the case. So very good. Let's see here. Linda says, if I come, I won't bring Theo because no one will pay any attention to me if he's there. You're probably right. That's a wise move right there, Linda. Jan is watching. Darn, my saddle donkey Bunny and I will be in Wickenburg for a Cactus Cowgirls gathering the first weekend in March. Sir, hope you have another sometime soon. Met Steve and Meyer a few years ago at an Eric Palmer, Steve Edwards clinic and really enjoyed it. Well, Jan, we've already committed to doing something else for Linda, so we'll make sure that everybody else knows when we do the Linda clinic. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the Linda clinic. Beth is watching. She says, Steve, should I be using a Britchen and Collar even for arena riding?
Yes, 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 and yes. I don't care if you're going to go 5 steps with your saddle. One of the demonstrations you're going to see me do there at the clinic is I'm going to put a saddle on without a breeching, without the back cinch being tight. And you'll see how within minutes that saddle is there. Listen, folks, they're V-shaped in their shoulders. That saddle is going to go forward. Don't take a chance. Don't do like what I've done. Cripple the animals, okay, simply because I didn't know no better. The mule didn't tell me there was a problem, you know. Well, he probably did, but I just thought he was being stubborn, so I jerked him around a little bit, all right? Listen, you don't want to cripple your animals, and it does not take long to cripple them, folks. It doesn't, you know. I've been there, done that. I don't want to see you be there, please.
So I'm putting a link, how and why. I'm putting a link in the comment section, and what this link is to, it's something that, it was actually something that I was pretty passionate about, and I put it in front of Steve. I said, Steve, what do you think about this? He goes, yeah, if you think folks will want it, then let's do it. So what we put together, and folks have really appreciated it, it's a mule saddle training course. If you have a Steve Edwards saddle, that is a great and huge first step. But it all works together. And so we've had folks come to us and say, hey, I'm riding, your saddle doesn't stay put. Your saddle moves. And then we'll say, okay, hold on. What are you riding with? Well, I'm riding with 1 cinch. Okay, well, you need to be riding with 2 cinches. Okay, what else are you riding with? I'm riding with a pulling collar. Well, that pulling collar is going to pull the saddle forward up onto the neck and the scapula because of the way the mule's shaped. Okay, what else are you riding with? I'm riding with a crupper. Okay, you need to be riding with the Britchen for all of the reasons Steve just said. This mule saddle training course tells you all about that. It shows you everything you need to see so you are able to go in and make an educated purchasing decision, not a decision based upon story or anecdote or hearsay or tradition, but you can make a purchase for your mule and yourself that's educated and well-informed. And that's really the number one thing that Steve tells folks is, if you want to know what to do, get educated. That's the best thing you can do, and everything will land in place from there. So very good, great question. Thank you for asking that. We never get enough opportunity to talk about the Britchen, especially when it comes to riding over with a crupper. Let's see here. John says, we made the decision to buy a couple of 15-3 gray mules and have been together for 5 to 6 years. Super sweet, big, strong, 10, 13-year-old boys. We knew that they are bonded tight to each other, but holy moly, after 2 months of hanging with our other 2 mules, all kinds of crazy running, stomping, kicking, drenching sweat happened when we left the new boys in the corral when we left for a ride. Where do I start to break them apart?
Not going to happen. Okay, folks, that is called an equine. And they are comfortable when the herd is together. When the herd is together, everything's good. Okay, notice that when you go on a ride, the lead animal, ears are up, pointed, and they're looking, and the ears are looking around, and everybody else's ears in the back there, they're flopping and going down the trail. All right? Charlie up here with his ears up in the air is looking and making sure everything's good. He is the herd leader. He's ahead. And as long as Charlie's watching, the rest of the team can go along and bop along, go good. But when Charlie all of a sudden goes, hey, what's that? All the other ones, their ears are going to come up and go, what's Charlie see? What's going on? And poof, we're gone. Okay. You cannot train out what the good Lord put into them. Flight and fright. They will, yes, they will get sweaty. They will run back and forth. I mean, it can be ugly. Will they get over it? No. Okay. Will they get better? Yes. They'll get to where pretty soon it's okay for everybody to leave. All right. I'm going to tell you, I've been around a lot of mules, and what we usually do, like when we got pack strings, we usually know by looking out at all the other mules, who's the herd leader. And sometimes when you have a lot of mules, like for instance, at the Grand Canyon, they turn all their mules loose out in one big corral. And so we can kind of see that there's this little clique over here and this little clique over here. These guys are all together. Those mules we leave together. We take those mules together because they like each other, but that's the herd mentality. So you're not going to change it. Buddy sour, you're not going to change it. Not going to do it. Now, can you train and put cues on the animals so that when you are riding or leading, they will pay attention to you? Yes. But their natural instinct is to be with prey animals, not with you, the predator. So you ain't going to change it, okay? We have literally taken mules and taken them 100 miles away to a pasture, left them there all winter. Well, like at the Grand Canyon. We literally took them up to Utah, and they wintered all winter in Utah, all winter. We only kept just a few mules down at the canyon to do what we had to do, okay? But here it is. We brought those mules back, and for the next month, it was chaos. Their mules were running everywhere, chasing each other, yada, yada, and they finally started settling down and started doing better, So can you train it out? Nope. I've tried all kinds of ways. Will they eventually kind of get over it? Yes. I can tell you that every one of the mules, you'll see, you folks that come, and you can see pictures too of my stalls. I have 10 stalls on the north side, 10 stalls on the south side with a runway down through the middle. Each one of those stalls are 10 by 20. I can pull a panel out and make it 20 by 20 if I decide to. But when I am training, 10 by 20, that's it, okay? And at first, the new mules especially, when they see other mules go, they get off, where's he going? What's going on, And then eventually they get to where they do better, okay? But as far as changing it, you're not going to change it. Buddy sour is buddy sour because they're an equine.
Very good. Equine is equine. Ben is watching. Hey, Steve and Dave, just tuning in from Prince, Georgia, British Columbia. Sunny and nice out in the morning. Glad to hear it. Kimberly is watching. Love my new saddle, but my husband wants to look at your saddles to see if they are available at the clinic. Yes, they will, Kimberly, and we'll be glad to show them to you. Naomi is watching from the Netherlands. Gone international again. Candace says, I can't figure out why my mule tries to buck going downhill. Why would a mule want to buck when going downhill?
Oh, so Candace, are you riding with a Britchen or a Crouper?
So, on that note, while we wait for Candace to answer, last week we talked about Britchen and Crouper, and Sandy had brought that up. And so Sandy sent this in. She goes, I have read so much debate on Crouper and Britchen. People have stated they rode a Crouper for 20 years and no problem. I'm sure you already know this, but my grandson is a math whiz, so I asked him to figure out the pressures on the tail. Looks like at 20 degrees, it's about 62 pounds of force on the tail. And at 40 degrees, it's 115 pounds of force with a 180-pound rider, 180 pounds, including rider's weight and the saddle. Correct. At 20 degrees, the weight on the tail is 1/3 of the rider and the saddle's weight. At 40 degrees, the weight of the tail is roughly 2/3 of the rider and the saddle's weight if you want to calculate for future different riders. I hope this helps convince people. I will never use a crupper. Thank you for your knowledge and the YouTube. Sincerely, Sandy. So I told Sandy I would say I'll share that there. But yeah, it's not meant for that.
Nope. Here's the deal. Okay, we got the tail, and it's hanging out, and here's the hind quarter. The tail starts getting rubbed underneath here, and 3 people, now this is one of my favorite stories. All 3 people told me they wanted me to put a crupper ring on the saddle so I can put a crupper ring. And I said, I won't sell you a saddle then, because I am not going to cripple your animal, and I'm not going to be responsible. Once you buy the saddle, it is now your saddle. Put a crupper ring on if you want. Now, one lady raised her mule from a baby. One guy had been riding cruppers for 25 years. Another guy had been riding cruppers for over 30 years. All 3 of them people called me in less than 5 months saying they've had their tails broken on their mules and they had to put them down. Now, here's what happens. We have the tail. When the crupper starts wearing, we loosen up the crupper. And then what happens, the crupper now gets on the tail. Now you got the leverage, and now you break the tail. Okay? Now, it is really easy. I can't tell you how many mules I have seen worn underneath that tail. It's the softest place next to their nose. Now, I would rather take a little hair off the hip, which don't mean nothing, than I would to have the thing so sore to go to bucking. Now, when they go downhill, that's going to change. Folks, you're going downhill. You adjusted that breeching when your mule was standing on flat ground. Now you're going downhill. Instead of your mule being its full length, now the mule folds up the back legs, pushes on the back legs, and shoves himself down and goes down the hill. Now, the mule has gone from, let's just hypothetical figures, 6 foot long, and now he's 5.5 foot long. You adjusted your breeching for flat ground. Guess what? Even though you got a breeching, the saddle's going to go forward because now you're 2.5 inches, 3 inches away from the hind quarter. The saddle's going to go forward. What's it going to hit? The scapula. What's it going to do? Cripple the animal. Okay? So now here's the most important thing, folks. Get this in your mind. A breeching is not to hold the saddle back. A breeching is to balance the saddle. The 2 side straps that are on there keep the saddle from going right, left. The 2 in the back help keep the saddle from going forward. What keeps the saddle into place on a mule? The back cinch. The back cinch is tight enough, it's going to do the job. Now, you all are going to see me demonstrate this stuff, but you're also going to see me use a wool pad, and you're going to see me use my pad. And you're going to see why I use my pad, okay? Folks, it wasn't just to sell you a pad. It was to help me. It's to help my mules. That's to help my cowboys. And there we are, Dave.
Yeah, that's it. So one of the things that I just think is crazy, you asked her, what are you using? Candace, are you using a crupper or a Britchen? She said crupper. So it's one of these deals where it truly is, hey, they're trying to tell you something, and I figured out exactly what it is they're trying to tell you, and here's what it is. Again, I put a link in the comment section to the Mule Saddle Training course. It explains all of this, how it all works together to create a smooth and to create an optimized ride for your animal. Very good.
Hey,
yeah.
So, David, going back to this, a crupper, you cannot adjust the crupper for going down steep hills or for rolly hills. You can adjust a breeching for real steep hills and for rolly hills, okay? The breeching keeps the saddle from going from side to side. The breeching keeps the saddle balanced. So when your cinches start to loosen, that balance will help keep the saddle in place. Now, the next question to her is, she's riding in a crupper, is she riding with a tight back cinch? What type of saddle is she using?
Yeah, because if the back cinch is meant to keep the saddle in place, that means you have to have a back cinch. And if you don't, well, there's another problem right there. Let's keep moving on. And if we see anything else from Candace, I will bring it up. Cowboy Ken is watching, says hello from Connecticut, 50 degrees. Hope says hello from England. England, UK. There we go. International. Do you have training videos for beginners with mule? Hope, send me a link. Send me an email, support@muleranch.com. I have 5 things that I'll share with you. Number 1 is if you haven't purchased yet, and even if you have, it's still helpful. So you want to buy a mule, that's a paid video, but it will save it for $50, whatever it is. It will save you thousands of dollars on getting a butt mule. You don't want a butt mule. You want a mule, confirmation first, or disposition first, confirmation second, and training third. That's what you want. I'll give you a link to the article, Welcome Home, Mr. Mule. I'll give you a link to Happiness Owning a Mule, and a link to Mule Saddle, everything you need to know, and a link to find all of our past videos on the Steve Q&A clinic that we got here. Steve, anything else that you would suggest for getting started?
No, that's a great start. You know, folks, I can't tell you how many people, Dave, have come to me with just really sad. They bought this mule that was supposed to have been broke and it was supposed to be yada, 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 and now they can't do a thing with it. It's not always the mule's fault now. Get that in your mind. But it also can be some of your fault. And that's really important for you to understand. Here's the key thing, folks. I'm looking for some mules right now. I've got so if you do know of some mules under 10 years old, 5 to 7 years old, that's what I'm looking. I'd be interested. And colts 2 and 3 years old. But let's go back to this. I've been looking on the internet, and it makes me sick, but I'll go ahead and look on the internet anyway. And what am I seeing? I'm seeing horse people riding mules. And that's great, except for they're using their horse ideas. This really good-looking mule going across all kinds of different obstacles looks great. The back of the saddle is sticking up and down and doing this, but nobody's paying attention to the mule suffering. They're watching the mule go across all these barriers and stuff. No rear cinch, no breeching, and the saddle is setting on top of the scapula. Here's a rule of thumb, folks. Here's a rule of thumb. If you're looking to buy a mule, don't buy a mule that the rider's not using a rear cinch. Don't buy a mule that's not riding with a breeching, okay? Because here's what's happening is if they're not riding with the rear cinch, they're not riding with the breeching, look where the saddle is, on top of the scapula. The mule looks okay now. It will not look okay in 5 years when the scapula is done. Now, we got that one veterinarian and that guy out of Texas, I forgot his name right now, it'll come to me, where he bought a nice mule.
Was it Dale?
The mule kept bucking, Dale, yeah, Dale. The mule kept bucking him off. We finally had a veterinarian look at it, had a little cauliflower piece on the scapula where the saddle had been banging. And you see, folks, that just doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. And people are thinking, I'm doing okay. No, you're not. And I've already been there. You don't want to have to. Now, I know a lot of you don't want to hear this. You don't want to have to put an animal down because of your stupidity. Okay? And I just kind of lay it right out there like that. If I was told what I know now, I'd have saved a lot of animals back 40 years ago.
And the thing is we know the folks who are here right now, we know that they don't want that either because they're here. Yep. That means they've already won. That means they've already taken the most important step, and that is learning, educating, and discovering what makes these animals unique. And that is something that we have a lot of respect for. We're very grateful to have y'all here. Let's see here. I've got a question from Greg. It's a little bit lengthy. I tried to tighten it up, but I think it's worth reading the whole thing. Greg emailed in, said, Steve, I have bought and I am using your training videos. My John Mule Milo was bought last fall, green 2-year-old, no training at all. I have done all the training with your rope halter, which I have him on, but jerk is as needed like it was the come-along rope. This winter, I have him now waiting at the gate to be caught and tied up for his feed randomly about 3 times a week. He leads on a loose lead, loads and unloads in the trailer, backs out or turns out, stands tied or cross-tied. You can pick his feet up to be trimmed without a twitch. He comes to the gate when I whistle, and he has a good, curious personality that makes it easier to work with. I've also had him take a bit in his mouth several times without fuss. He will finish at 15.3 to 16 hands. He is from a Walker mare. He lowers his head around me without fear, but does not like his ears messed with past the base. Okay, between and all around the ears of the base of the ears, I can touch and rub him anywhere else on his body. This has made it difficult to use the come-along method at this point. I'm not sure what I should do. What should be the next step? I would like to pony him this summer with light pack loads, then work on his reining from the ground in a round pen. What should be the next step? Is there anyone in the Midwest you would recommend to help me through the ear issue? Question from Greg. What would you say?
Yeah, I really don't have any apprentices in that Midwest area. I have up in Iowa, Sue, and I'm not sure how she's doing. I understand she's been ill, but anyway, it's another story. And then I have Susan over in Florida. Susan Sonderberg is another one. But let's go back to this ear problem, okay? And it's really a simple thing to fix, but it's also can be several things. Now this is nice because because you've taken the mule from a 2-year-old. Now here's my question: when you put the bit in his mouth, did you put it in with the bridle on? And then pull the ears up through that way. So that's one thing. Now, here's I use a lot, and you're going to see it in the clinic. You're going to see me using a twitch. It is a wonderful tool. It does great things, and you will see me take animals that I hopefully will have one there with an ear side problem. If not, I'm still going to train something to the twitch. I train every single mule to a twitch. I train every single mule to a hobble, which takes away a foot, so that they're walking and standing on 3 legs. I still do those things, but the twitch is going to be your key thing. The video doctoring your mule demonstrates how that twitch is used. It's extremely humane. The mules just love it. It makes them feel good. Actually creates natural endorphins. But that's what I would do. Get to where you're used to using the twitch. You can move around the ears, and this sort of thing's fine. So next thing is the bridle. Did you put the bit on without the bridle or with the bridle?
Very good. Next question. This one was emailed in from another Greg. Says, my mule has been a great ride with very little problem until I introduced her to cows. She thinks they are going to eat her, and when they come up to her, she turns very quickly and runs off out of control. Sounds like me around cows. The only way I can stop her is a 1-rein stop. It scares the hell out of me, and I'm too old to experiment. What would you suggest? Thank you, Steve.
Well, you're lucky you can stop with a 1-rein stop now, because here's the problem, okay? And I was an expert witness on an accident. When that's used too much on a mule, you pick up on 1 rein to disengage your hindquarters, this mule will learn to run through its shoulders. And I did an expert witness on a case one time when a lady got herself really bad hurt. She had to be helicoptered out, life flighted out, because they told her just pick up on 1 rein. She picked up on 1 rein, and the mule ran just as fast sideways as he did straight ahead. Now, this is one of the things that David Scholl is that he is way ahead. Folks, in Australia, you are getting ready to see some awesome things with David. I mean, he's got an awesome jack. He's going to be doing AI work, and I'm just kind of touching on that. But see, Dave uses his mules to work around cattle, okay? And he said used horses in the past too, but he is becoming quite the mule entrepreneur in Queensland. He's got a great jack, and I'm just kind of pushed that way. Will they get used to cows? Biggest percentage of the time, yes, but it's up to the rider, okay? In other words, your timing has to be impeccable. And I would start on the ground with the come-along hitch, and then I would go in the saddle with my Mule Rider's Martingale, and I would stay with that Mule Rider's Martingale. Anytime I'm training mules to cattle, and folks, it's not easy to do, okay? They have to have a firm foundation on them to start with. If they've got a firm foundation, then you can do wonderful things. Now, how many of you have an elephant to train on? You don't, right? I had an elephant to train on at the Phoenix Zoo. I had giraffes. I had tigers. I had rhinoceroses. Y'all hear me? Yep, that's what we had at the Phoenix Zoo. Guess what? I had to drive teams of mules and horses around the zoo with lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Can it be done? Yes. Yes. Here's a wagon. Here's a team. Here's an elephant. Here's a rhinoceros. Okay? We put them through all of that, folks. Can it be done? Yes. But it's going to take ground foundation first. Impeccable. Everybody wants to go back to, they want to ride. I want to see, I heard everybody always says, I went to go ride the mule and I couldn't make it ride. Okay? Do it on the ground first, folks. Do your ground communication on the ground. I have had several people just this past week, Dave, who's gone to look at mules that saw them on the internet and said, wow, look at that mule. Listen, this is what they saw. The mule walked down the road, the mule walked down the road, the mule walked down the road, the mule walked across the creek, the mule walked. Listen, if they side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, if they do all that in a 10-foot circle, that is a mule with a foundation. And we do all that with one hand. So I know I ran a gamut there, Dave, but folks, here's what we can't do. We can't just say, okay, my mule is broke. I can go do anything. Not. If your mule is a well-trained, good foundation mule, and you have the capabilities of riding, yes, you can get it done. Story after story I've told, huh, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Story after story.
Yeah, around the campfire this next weekend, around the campfire here at Queen Valley, we're going to have the campfire going. We're going to have come along coffee. Yeah. And we're going to have, yes. But look who has the Martingale cup.
I need one of them.
Yeah, I'll have to put the word in for that one. Hey, there's 2.5 cups there, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Okay. A very, very good friend who I call my sister, okay, who gave me Jess, my puppy. She's going to be there. Just love this lady. Okay. She was one of my first students at Bishop Mule Days. When I did the very first clinics at Bishop Mule Days, they actually brought in bleachers, put up round pins, had never been done at Bishop before, and I did it. And Julie was one of my students there. Now, the mule wouldn't load in the trailer, wouldn't stand still. She bought one of my saddles, yada, yada. Long story short, that mule taught her a lot. And we use that mule. So Julie's going to be there. She sings beautifully. So around the campfire, we're going to hear a little bit of cowboy poetry, okay? We're going to hear a story or two. And I won't be the only one lying. I mean, telling stories. There'll be other people there talking some other stories too. Hey, we're going to have Trinity Powers is coming. Trinity Powers is from Wyoming, okay? I just talked to him, and he's excited about coming down. And there's going to be a lot of people from all over the United States coming to this thing. It's going to be fun, okay? There we are.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
We are past forward. Do you have a few more minutes, Steve?
Yes, let's do this.
Okay. Last week, Bonnie sent us a message talking about Britchen and Collar, and I did not make sure to get the second half of her question. The second half of her question was essentially, how do I get my mule? I'm afraid my mule is not going to like the Britchen. What's the best way to introduce and train her for the Britchen?
Okay, folks, listen. These animals will react all kinds of ways at all kinds of things. The first time you put a halter on, they reacted, blah. Some of them took it in. First time you put a saddle on, first time you put a comb on them, first time you sprayed water on them, all this. Will they blow up? Yes, they're an equine, flight and fright. Now, Dave, I know you've done this. I know you've done this. I've done it myself. My wife knows I'm in the house. She is in the kitchen in her element, cooking away a meal thinking my husband is going to love this. Man, oh man, she's just cooking away. And I come in and say, honey, ah! Right? Been there, huh? Yeah.
Done that.
Spaghetti all over the place. Yes. Okay. So listen, folks. You have an animal that's called an equine. Flight and fright kicks in. You cannot change what God put into this animal. Okay. And flight and fright can be ear shy problems, can be scooting around because something's on their butt. Okay. Now, at the clinic, I'm going to do some demonstrating, but this is what I would do. All right. I would take a rope and I would put it around the mule's neck. So I just put a loop around the neck. I would tie the mule to a hitching rail in the middle of the rail so they can't go right or left. They can only go as far as the rail each place. And then I would move back to the end of the rope, about a 30-foot rope where the mule couldn't kick me. Get that in your mind. And then I would take the rope and I would just touch him on the side. Touch him on the side. You're going to see this at the clinic. And then I would start going around the back end. Let him feel it. Then I would put it on the other side. And I'd go around the back end. No saddle on him, nothing like that. Let him start feeling it. Okay? Now, once I do that, I'll put a saddle on and I'll do it. And then I'll put the breeching on and the saddle, and then I'll slide the breeching on, and then I will let them stand at the hitching rail. Stand there. Okay? Now, don't do all this in one day, folks. Worst thing you can do is try to put all this training in one day. Put it over a time, 3, 6, 9, 12. That's a good deal to do. Now, once you do that, walk the mule around with the come-along hitch so that you have control. Walk the mule around. Let him feel it. All right? And go ahead and put it on like it's supposed to be, 1.5 inches away from the hind quarter, like it's supposed to be. Do that. All right? Walk them around. See what they're doing. What's their head doing? Is their head like this worried? Is their white-eyed worried? Or is their head down and the ears are flopping? You know, listen, folks, the first time you do anything, it's going to sometimes be a flight and fright deal. You're riding an animal that is an animal, okay? Now, it's not like your car. You got a bumper on the front when you make a mistake. You got a bumper on the back when somebody else makes a mistake. You hear that? So mistakes happen. So yes, it's going to happen, but it's better than having a broken tail on a mule than you have one dead. You know, it's horse people that are going to be telling you that. Oh, but they're mule people. They got mules. If they knew that harness was designed to have a crupper on it, not a saddle.
All right, let's keep rolling here. Folks, we're going to try to jet through these to make sure that we get to everybody. John Sherman's watching from Oklahoma. My mule is trying to kick when I'm tightening the back cinch. Should I bumper with the come-along rope to stop this, or should I tap the back foot?
No, what you want to do is, yes, you want the come-along hitch on there. And yes, when you snug it up, here's what we don't want to do, folks. We don't want to tighten up the cinch all at one time while they're standing there. Don't do that. Tighten it up a little bit, move them around. You're going to see this you'll see it in my videos, but you'll also see it there again at Queen Valley. And then snug it up a little bit more. Then walk them around. All they're saying is, I'm uncomfortable. Would you please slow down and don't pull it so tight? You know, so tighten it up a little bit at a time. Now, should they decide to kick at you, you have every right in the world to cut their nose in two. All right? Yeah. Are they telling you don't make it so tight? Yes. Listen to them. Listen to them and do it a little at a time. But don't allow them to kick at you, because if they kick at you, yes, they're telling you not so tight. But yeah, you got to tell them, don't kick at me. Okay?
Awesome.
Not allowed.
Let's keep rolling here. Carolyn says, when I send my mule in a circle, he will cut in and rub against me. He's young, and I just push him away. Is that bad?
Yes. Because what he's doing is he knows if he can get in your space, he doesn't have to go all the way around. He's like a teenager. He doesn't want to do any more than he has to do. Okay. So yes, I'm not sure why you're putting him in a round pen. Folks, don't put him in a round pen just to move him around. Don't do that. Okay. Not important. Just going to teach the mule a lot of bad habits. So as they're going around, they need to stay when you tell them. If they start to come in, you see, this lady's timing is off. Okay. So she needs to say that when that mule turns, if you see an ear pointing towards you, fix it then. If he's already in your space, it's too late. So see, folks, your timing is really, really important. So here the mule's going around. If he points his nose or his ear towards you, you go at him, go at that mule, and that way he stays over in his space.
Very good. Moving right along, we've got let's see. Candace says, how can I get my mule to stop nipping at me when I turn my back?
Oh my, that's not good. Is it because you're tightening up the cinch? Or is the saddle on? If the mule is biting at you, that means that mule is trying to say, I'm the head of the pecking order, and I'm going to straighten you up. So if that mule is nipping at you, have the come along hitch on, have it ready. And when that mule nips at you, you jerk their nose off, okay? And I mean whack them good, I mean, they're kicking and biting are two things that I will come unglued with. I will, I'll completely come unglued. But if they're trying to bite you, when you turn in your back, they're trying to say, I want to be the top of the pecking order. If they're doing it because you're cinching, you're cinching too much, too fast in one spot. Do a little at a time, go around in circles.
Very good. Thank you so much, Candace. Naomi says, Naomi and Hope are talking to each other. Very good. Hey, Andrea's watching. Florida, sunny, comfortable. Nice day for a donkey drive. Love to hear that. Let's see. I can't come to you, Steve, because I can't leave my mule behind. Come on over. That's the animal. You come hang out with us humans. Come back. Your mule will love you even more, Naomi. Hope says, I lost my horse recently, and I'm thinking about getting a mule for the first time in my life, and this gentleman made me love mules. There you go. Awesome. Thanks so much, Hope. Appreciate that. Keep us in the loop. If you're looking for anything specific that you want to do, let us know. But as far as getting started, really, you want to get started with education. And then from education and then assessing your animal, you're going to want to start with ground foundation training. So you want to go to muleranch.com and get the ground foundation starting kit. There's a video in there called Problem Mule, and it will show you exactly how to begin working with your animal on the ground. Do not get in the saddle. Do not try to drive. Do not try to pack. Don't try and do any of that stuff. You want a good foundation, like we've talked about all throughout this clinic here. You want a good foundation to work off of, because if you cannot control them on the ground, you will not be able to control them anywhere else. And even that's a farce. You want to be able to communicate with them so that even if they're not listening, that training will kick in and you have as best a shot at not getting hurt should that ever become a reality. Let's see. Linda says, I'm so glad to hear it took Steve 40 years how to adjust his tack. I'm still fiddling with mine. There you go. We'll compress all those 40 years down here into 4 months for you, Linda. How about that? We'll take the next several months, work with you. A few folks posting their saddle sizes. So if you have questions about whether or not a Steve Edwards saddle will fit your animal, just scroll back up in the comments. You'll see the people saying all sorts of sizes. Some folks have 2, 3 animals, all different sizes. They use the same Steve Edwards saddle. It really is a marvel how the mule is so unique and a saddle can fit them. Let's see here. Is your training course online? Yes. Hope everything we have is online. Muleranch.com. You'll be able to find the best stuff.
And it's a 4-letter word too.
What's that?
My favorite. It's a 4-letter word too. It starts with an F.
Free, baby. It's free, baby.
That's
Check
right.
it out.
You hear me say a lot of free, and then we got how many we got? 400 some odd videos on YouTube.
We've
Free?
got a lot, and we've got several thousand subscribers, but hundreds of thousands of views, all free videos. Our desire here is to really help mule and donkey owners gain trust and get results with their animals. That's our mission. We have products and services that help us fund that mission, but the mission is still the same. And when we can, we put stuff out there for free. Let's see here. Just scrolling through here. Melanie says, would the lady from Old Town, Florida, please contact me? I need mule and donkey friends. So there you go. Our friends from Old Town, Florida, please contact Melanie Cash. Let's see here.
Any relation to Johnny Cash?
Let's see. Man, y'all are having really good conversations. They're talking to each other, Steve. All of our friends are talking back and forth. They don't even need us anymore. They're just hanging out with one another. What does Steve think about an adult riding on a bareback pad?
I don't mind that much. I can tell you it's the greatest thing in the world because, again, we got the spine, and that spine is good until we're putting too much pressure on it, and then boom, okay? So if you're going out and just riding for 30 minutes somewhere, it's not so bad. I haven't done much barebacking myself, except for when I was dumber, but that was another story. Anyway, so if there's nothing wrong with that, but don't be trail riding on a bareback pad. Just short little rides, enjoying life. That's one thing.
Eileen's
but don't
watching
go for long.
Oh, sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Just don't go on long trail rides, and
Eileen's watching from Nebraska. Good to have you here, Eileen. Ima is watching 30 degrees in Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and the rod on our water hydrant just broke off, so I'm stopping in here while hauling water off from the house to the critters. Oh, my goodness. I hope that gets sorted out there pretty quickly. Glad that you spent a few minutes with us. Let's see here. I really now fancy getting a mule. I became passionate about them from just watching this channel. That's awesome to hear, Hope. Thank you. Naomi says, Steve helped me in 2017 to get the right mule, all by email and WhatsApp. That's the thing. We don't tell you where to go or what mule to buy, but if you find something, send us pictures. Steve will give you his honest assessment and then let you make that decision. Polly says, when I took the mule ride into the Grand Canyon years ago, why did they tie the Britchen up to the saddle on the way back instead of leaving it down around their butt?
Okay, so here's the reason they did that. Now we're going uphill. The breeching doesn't help that much. Now, their saddles don't fit with a tinker's darn on those mules, okay? And you'll see there's lots of white marks on them, things like that. They, unfortunately, are not using some proper trees and some other things that they're not doing. Now, I can tell you that when Ron Clayton had it, by golly, things were in good shape. And Ross Knox was the head packer. By golly, things were in good shape. And don't get me wrong, the guy that's there now, that's being the manager, is doing good, but they're still using some horse techniques not good. So the reason they put the breeching up was so it didn't wear on the butt. Okay, so that was the least amount of wearing. You got to remember, these mules are used, and so they are missing hair. Yes, they are even bleeding in places. Yes, it can be happening. You take leather and you take salt and you got a piece of sandpaper. Okay, so yes, but see, they don't use a rear cinch, unfortunately, and so then the other thing is it doesn't balance the saddle correctly without a rear cinch. And so the reason they do that is so that it will wear less on the animals behind him.
There you go. This has been a big-time Britchen conversation today. Lots of talk about the Britchen, the Crooper, adjustments. Let's see here. Fiona says, we are all very excited to see David and Di Scholl's new import down here. That'll be a lot of fun.
It's going to be an awesome jack. I've seen it, that Dave's got a good eye, and I found him one about the same time he got his, but he's going to have quite the deal there. An AI situation, the nice thing about AI, artificial insemination, is that Dave can take and ship semen to people off of this jack. So if you want to breed your donkeys, he can ship semen to you. if you want to breed your mares, that's the good thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dave and Di are on a cutting edge here, Dave.
They got it.
That's awesome.
They got it. Rip is watching. Good to have you here, Rip. Let's see here.
Just talked to Rip the other day.
Did you? He's going to be at the clinic, right?
Yep.
That'll be, man, I'm going to meet, I just got to say, so you talk to the folks way more than I do. And I don't know if you know what folks look like. Folks, I just want to say ahead of time, if Steve or I don't recognize you right off the bat, just introduce yourself. We'll know your name. I know y'all from here, and I know what some folks look like or whatnot. I'm very excited to be able to meet y'all. I know y'all are there for Steve, but it'll be exciting for me to get to meet y'all there too. It'll be a lot of fun. Floyd's watching from Canton, Texas, 70 degrees. Got y'all on the end of the show. Hope to get to the whole show next Wednesday. Y'all have a blessed one. On that, that's the last comment we got. Steve, thanks so much. Floyd, it was good to have you. Anything you want to say, Steve?
You know what, people? We need to pray for this United States. Matter of fact, the whole world is upside down, but that's another story. The United States needs your prayers. So be a praying man and woman of God. And let's pray this through, okay? And let's make this thing work. But the only way it's going to happen is if you are praying and His word will intervene.
Yeah.
God bless America.
And you know what? If that doesn't make sense to you, if that sounds a little foreign, or if you've got a history with the church and you say, you know what, I've been there, I've done that. But it ever comes a point where you want to know more, just reach out, send a message to steve@muleranch.com, send him a text message. Always happy to talk. We're so glad that you're here today. We're very grateful. And we would love to have you join us again next week. Any way we can help you, that's why we're here. From all the way from, donkeys and mules to if you got questions about the man who made the donkeys and the mules. Heck, God can use a jackass. He can use men and women like all of us. So, Steve, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Folks, go to muleranch.com, get signed up for the clinic. We hope to see you. We will have one more live stream before the clinic, so you'll still have another reminder for us. But don't wait. Just go get signed up. Book your flight. Book your hotel.
Yeah.
Put it on your calendar. Do yourself a favor. You've earned it. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.